Namaskar. This is Professor Aman Agarwal. I am from Indian Institute of Finance, and we are yet in another series of webinars which we are holding on the essence of life and growth. We will be beginning today with Professor Junzo Watada. We have changed a little bit of a format, as Professor Watada would like to bring up the key essence and the values of the Japanese culture and the heritage, the spirituality on the aspect of essence of life and growth. Before we begin, I would like to give the disclaimer that we are observing all the possible norms to observe no Zoom bombing to take place so that we can have a smooth meeting as advised by the Ministry of Home Affairs. And we are requesting you all to kindly keep your audios and videos off throughout this session. We will be beginning this session. We will be beginning this session in due course so that we can have Professor Watada. I have requested him to highlight the Japanese culture, and as a result, we will see and hear from him. So he has requested me to have a presentation which I will switch on before he gives his verbal interview with me, and then we will open the house for questions. So for about 25, 30, for maybe about 30 to 40 minutes, we will have his presentation, his address, because he wanted it to be there so that people could understand. He has this feeling that his English may not be very clear to everybody in India because we speak different dialects, but then I am fairly confident that what he speaks would be understood by most of us. And I welcome Professor Watada. Professor Watada has been an old friend of mine. I have known him for almost about almost 20 years now, or more than 20 years now. We have interacted academically. He is like my family. He was there at my wedding almost a decade back, and at various other family functions in the last 20 years, all the way coming from Japan. I have been honored just recently in December, on the 9th or the 10th of December, I was honored by him as a life fellow of the ISME award, which is an association which he heads under Waseda University, Japan. It was a life fellow award given by him for my contributions to academics and life. So it's an honor to have received it from him and in Vietnam. I would like to introduce Professor Watada now, although you might have already read about him in the introduction. More than anything, he is very humane. He has very nice, welcoming ideas. I have always connected with him whenever I spend time. I talk to him. We have spent hours and hours. And it's not now, but it's been, as I said, for almost 2 decades now that I have been communicating with him regularly. I'm very happy to say that he has been attending almost all our webinars, which we have been hosting in the last 1.5 months so far, from the 15th of April. Professor Watada is currently the professor and head of the department at the Universiti Teknologi PETRONAS, which is a university of PETRONAS in Malaysia. He is also the research professor of Jingxing Gangchong University in China, where he's one of the economic centers, quantitative economic centers. He is a man of managerial engineering sciences, but he is doing a lot of work in the area of finance, economics, management, and other areas as well, using his mathematical sciences. He is also a professor emeritus and invited researcher at the Waseda University, Japan, where he spent almost 3 decades of his life. Large part of his life he spent there, and most of his students today are working as vice chancellors, as rectors of various universities around the world. He is also the executive chair of ISME and WCICME in Japan. He is also the president for the current year and the previous year till 2021, for a period of 3 years from 2019 to 2021, for the Forum of Interdisciplinary Mathematics, which is an organization run in India of mathematicians, and he heads that. I had the pleasure of being invited to deliver the special guest of honor address in 2019, which was in Jammu and Kashmir. However, due to certain transportation problems, I could not reach there, but it was an honor to have received his invite to be addressing. He's also received large number of awards, but a very few to just mention: the recent medal which he received from Romania in 2002, and then the Life Fellow from the Japanese Society of Fuzzy Theory and Integrated Informatics, SOFT. He is also on the advisory board of Indian Institute of Finance for the almost past 5 years, but he has been an advisor to me, a friend, a colleague, and someone I always look upon for not only academics, but even for my personal affairs. So I feel privileged to welcome Professor Dr. Junzo Watada to be amongst us here to talk about the essence of life and growth. And as I said, we will be going through a brief presentation by him, and then we will open the house for question answers, some by me and then rest of them by the audience. So Professor Watada, I am making you in the spotlight. I'm making you here, so you can now after this start talking, so that we can listen to you and hear you speak. Let me try your video once more in case it starts working, and then we will start. No, we are still not able to see you, so I will start with the presentation. Would you like to say something before the presentation, or would you like to start with the presentation directly?
I'd like to talk a little bit. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Amang Agarwal. I'm very honored to be here and share my life with many people. And I'm quite hesitant to share my life. But anyway, the life is not the secret. I'm open to all things for you. Especially, I'd like to talk about Japanese culture. It is coming from China, behind China, Indian culture, the influence. So I would like to share such aspects. So and a little bit future, I will talk depending on my lecture, green computing technology. It connecting with near future, so it is much interesting for you. So I would like to start my life. Do you open the PowerPoint?
Presentation.
Not yet?
Yes, open.
Okay. Yeah, next, please. Next slide. Yeah, I will talk this line. I mean, blue is I'm studying something apprentice study at the university, undergraduate, master. After then, I moved to the industry, the business, and returning to PhD program, more working on research, then joining the business administration, and moving to the United States as a postdoctoral. And then I moved to another university, industrial engineering. After then, I joined Waseda University. And after retiring, I came to Malaysia. Almost all the position was spent around 10 years. So I'd like to talk this episode, including Japanese culture. Usually, Japanese the people do not like to move. They used to stick one position. So I'm quite regular because many good people introduced me to new position. So next slide, please. So I was born 1945, just after World War II. And right now, nearly 75. So quite a few people were found around 75. Some are 76, 75, 74. So I can be included in the oldest people's group. So I would like to talk one novel, the story. This is, I wrote, Ogai Mori, in Japanese, Mori Ogai. Given name is Ogai, and the family name is Mori. He wrote many novels. He went to Germany in keeping the position as a surgeon general. He is a medical doctor. So he went to Germany and he wrote a love romance of his own, and it is quite a famous novel. But I'd like to tell a short story. Ship Takase. The Takase is the name of river. This talks about contentment, satisfaction. Quite difficult. We would be satisfied of something. We used to look for next one, much richer, much food, much tasty one. Some of the priests in Edo period, almost 200, 300 years ago. Takase River is in Kyoto. So one person was arrested and sent to Ireland because he killed his younger brother. He looks at the calm. He did not worry anything. So the priest asked him, "How do you think about killing his brother?" He told, his brother tried the suicide, but his brother could not kill himself well. So he helped to kill himself. Therefore, he rested. At that time, they could not eat well. So when he rested, he was given some amount of money by sending the Ireland. So he was okay, even though he killed his brother. It is for his own brothers. So the content of the story is contentment, self-contentment. Many Japanese students read this story because this story is included in Japanese language text, a very famous story. Many Japanese people know it. So quite difficult. We will be satisfied of ourselves or contented. So I'd like to introduce this story. And next slide, please. So I studied the Osaka City University. Quite a few universities produced Nobel laureate. This university, one PhD student worked on DNA. So he developed iPS cell. So this person right now, the professor of Kyoto University, he obtained the Nobel Prize depending on his PhD studied at Osaka City University. But Osaka City University is not famous of his Nobel Prize because his advising professor persuaded Professor Nakaya not to work on these topics. It is not so much productive, but he attached the stick to his own research. Then finally, he developed the iPS cell. Now they are quite widely employed in real medical or the treatment. Very famous in Japan. So the Osaka City University is also the famous, but at that time I was undergraduate student, 1968. So I started to study fuzzy set because my advising professor named Professor Kyoji Asai worked on fuzzy set just after published. The fuzzy set paper was published 1965. And when I joined his laboratory, he moved to Berkeley, working with Professor Zade. As you know, Professor Zade passed away the 2018, 2 years ago. And I met Professor Zade many years ago. Therefore, from 1978, now almost 52 years, I studied fuzzy system. At that time, the Professor Sugeno already developed the fuzzy measure, but we could not find a breakthrough. We studied anyway fuzzy set various ways. I worked on automata theory and applied this fuzzy system thinking to automata theory. And next, please. After finishing the next, this is Osaka City University campus. And I'd like to introduce something, the Japanese culture. As you know, Japanese culture, Japanese history, more than 2,000 or 3,000 writing history, but of course the 10,000 or several thousand, several decades, thousand history, but the writing history is within 2,000, comparing with China, India, or Greek. They have 5,000 history, so not so long. Especially Japanese culture, is based on Chinese culture because we studied Chinese character and also Buddhism, Confucianism. Much things are coming from the China. Also the highest people going to China and study there. So I would like to tell some, this is also very popular, the words, Ningen Banji Sayogama. This is Japanese, but meaning is human life is like Sai Wen's horse. The Sai Wen is the person's name. His family was quite poor in China. He had a mother, but probably lived in China. One day, he found a very excellent horse, came to his house. Then he captured this horse, and they were quite glad to obtaining the very nice horse. But unfortunately, several days, several months later, this horse left from his house. So they were disappointed. Of course, we can understand very good labor the host can provide, but the host left it from him or his family. So they worked by themselves without the host. But several months later, one host came back with several group of horses. That means the previous host took another horse's family and the group to his house. That means it is not necessary to glad to obtain the good things one time. Sometimes the result might be changed quite easily, as wrote in English. Inscrutable are the ways of heaven. Fortune is unpredictable and changeable. Quite difficult. So it is many Japanese believe this. So we do not glad so easily. Sometimes going well and sometimes going bad. So we should endure bad days. So the next, please. So I joined Fujitsu after the finishing undergraduate master program. Almost I studied the fuzzy system, but my background is WE, electric engineering. So I joined Fujitsu company. I joined there around the 7 years. So the industrial development in Japan there. So the quite quickly developed. One famous prime minister told the poor people should eat wheat. In Japan, rich people used to eat rice, but if we did not have money, we ate wheat, sometimes combining wheat and rice. So the rich people do not eat wheat. So the a little bit different between India and Japan. So this prime minister announced he would make all people's salary 2 times. So it was realized 1970s. So industry was developed quite quickly, but unfortunately, some circumstance environment was destroyed, as you know. So the small river was dark and the sea was dark. It is not easy to obtain the fish. So the Alvin Toffler told such a day from Industrial Revolution to another date, IT industry will started. So this is a 3rd wave. So as you know, Alvin Toffler, the title is the 3rd wave. So but he also wrote 4th wave. But the 4th wave was not mentioned clearly. So I'd like to explain at the end 4th wave, because maybe the Alvin Toffler, maybe my opinion is a little bit different from Alvin Toffler. But today, many people believe the different direction. Next, please. Next, please.
Yes.
Next, please.
Just a second.
And two slides.
Yes.
And I returned to the PhD program after the quitting the company Fujitsu, because job is the, how can I say, not so much interesting to earn the money. So I would like to return to the another research. So I returned to the Osaka Prefecture University. So this is the next slide. Is that possible? So the,
yes. Some Wi-Fi technical. Just give me 1 second. Please continue in the meantime. I'm just
okay. Thank you. And I'd like to show. After I studied quite hard, and in my young day, my expectation is going to the United States. Unfortunately, I did not have such a chance. At Fujitsu, I persuaded the executive officer made me going to abroad, working there. But no people listen to my expectation. So the next please. I first time visited Taiwan. This picture at that time, the slide.
next one now.
Yeah, next please. Yeah, this one. So the next person, left side person is Hideo Tanaka. I had two supervising professors, Hideo Tanaka, both already passed away. So we went to the Taipei to attend the conference. Many famous researchers on fuzzy system gathered there. So the central is mine, and right side Zomma. He just obtained a PhD degree at the Aachen Institute of Technology in Germany. So the advising professor is Professor Zimmermann. Zimmermann is also the famous, but already retired. And 1983, this is the first time to visit a foreign country. I'm working on fuzzy multivariant analysis. Next, please. So I'd like to move quickly. So I studied. I joined after the obtaining a degree, but 1 year previously, I was employed this School of Business Administration, Ryukoku University. Ryukoku University has 430 years history. Looks like similar the Harvard University, because more than 400 years ago, this School of Buddhism opened a school to educate monks. So I explained a little bit more later. I started working artificial intelligence, language processing, decision support system. Next, please. So this university is owned by Nishi Honganji School of Buddhism, very famous in Japan, quite a rich temple. So the Ryukoku University is also quite rich and provide a good salary. So Buddhism monk Shindan, the starting point is a name, Shindan. He told, this one is quite important, I would like to tell. He told, of course, good people should be saved, right? But Shindan told, if good people can or should be saved. Even bad people should be saved. This is a quite important point. Some days ago, I asked the Indian situation of the death sentence. I think in India does not accept the death sentence. But when I visited Professor Dr. Amang Agarwal many years ago, at that time I read some newspaper in the returning airplane. So two fiancés, one was killed. The male person was killed by the mafia in a bus. Bus driver guided this one and raped the female person. So this was informed all over the world. So all people may think such a person should be death sentenced. I don't know in India what happened. It is not only in India. In Japan, the same. Some the person's young wife and baby were killed by a wrong person. So the husband required death sentence, but it was not given death sentence. All people thought death sentence should be correct, but this Shindan told like this. How do you think? This is a quite famous word. So this is Shindan's picture, left side bottom, right? And the right side is a very big Buddhism temple, a very huge temple. And also the subordinate temples are located all over the world. Next, please. And I obtained a good chance to visit the United States. So this is Kim Sung-Fu. He provided a postdoctoral position for me. And I joined. He was with Purdue University, WE. And he obtained the NSF budget for the research, building a fuzzy assessment system of earthquake damage. 1 year ago, the very big earthquake happened in San Francisco, as you know, 1983. So he worked on the assessment system of earthquake damage, especially architectures. So I was invited to join him. So at that time, 1984, as you know, the 1978 or 9, Northern iron was found by using expert system. Expert system was developed by the SRI, Stanford Research Institute. This is a quite famous story. Before this, found artificial intelligence was declining. Many big companies declined to work on artificial intelligence, but this real result, make the research fired. Then 1982, we had a very, very big conference in New York City. So 22,000 or 3,000 people were gathered, not only scholars, but also the industrial people, and also the media people gathered. At that time, Feigenbaum announced knowledge engineering is the most important. This is the starting point of the word knowledge engineering. But in my school day, master day, we used to use problem solving for artificial intelligence. But at that time, artificial intelligence and knowledge engineering are popular word. And then I would like to move to next, please. So the next slide is important. So until up to then, I studied Kim Sung-fu is the professor's name. He passed away next year, 1985. So at that time, 5 years old. So he was a quite famous person. The one slide return. Can you return one slide? And he founded how can I say, image processing journal, very famous in IIF. So he left various results. So can you return several slides? Yeah, this one. And I'd like to tell something relating to the last talk. So as you know, this is coming from Komiyama, a famous scholar of Mitsubishi Research Institute. He told 2050, we will be changed various things. Of course, India is working to industrialize the various portion developing the car industry, but many car industries are moving to electric vehicles. And also, if we have one car for 2 persons, maybe the number of cars will be matured. That means we cannot sell so many cars. After matured, we sell, replacing the old car. That means also the iron can be reproduced by the old iron, the architecture of car. That means we can just add some small amount to new iron. That means iron industry is not be required, and iron industry cannot sell so much. We are working on the recycle industry. So I will tell the Kitakyushu is a very famous place of recycle. Then India is famous, the country to produce iron steel industry. But steel industry will be matured 2015. That means not only steel industry, but many industry will mature and the future direction will be changed. Of course, many developing countries to do best to develop industry, catching up to the developed country. But it is not forever. This is the fourth wave. We should consider this one. Then at that time, I'm working on human-centered data mining because fuzzy multivariate analysis can be employed to such a direction. Also, I concentrate financial engineering as well as management engineering. I'm quite interested in economy, econometrics. So we developed the double-layered neural network. So now we are considering the attach something deep learning to double layer neural network. And this is Osaka Institute of Technology's campus. And next, please. So last, this is Waseda University. I left this is the main campus in Tokyo, quite a famous university. This is a private university, but in World War II, Japan expelled many foreign students to their own countries, but Waseda kept foreign students. So foreign countries are quite support Waseda's name. And the right side is the IPS graduate school. This was settled in Kitakyushu. Kitakyushu city is famous of coal mining and also the iron steel industry. But as you know, coal mining is not required from around 1970 and closed coal mining places. Also, the steel industry moved to China or other places. So the steel, as I told, also in future, steel industry is not so important mainframe. The Kitakyushu city opened new direction. So Kitakyushu opened the automobile industry as well as recycle industry. So the very famous all over the world, Kitakyushu is famous of recycling industry. This is main direction of the wave. So in Waseda days, I worked on parallel programming, portfolio investment, as well as human tracking, image processing. Just catching up Professor Kim Sung-Fu, who invited me 20 years ago to the United States. So then next I retired Waseda University in 2016 at 70 years old. Then I was invited to University Teknologi PETRONAS from 2016. I joined with them 4 years. So almost at the timing to be back to Japan. So, but at UTP, I worked on optimization of geological problems and also the unsupervised image processing, unsupervised deep learning computing and big data mining. But I would like to emphasize lecture. I lectured 4 years on green computing technology. As you know, green computing is quite important direction of the fourth wave. Next, please. Then I'd like to talk mantra future. So this is UTP's campus. And next, please. So the last, I would like to emphasize the future direction. Now the several days in Japan, we provided the SDGs. This provided by United Nations. Also, Japanese government emphasized this SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, as you know, and environment, society, and governance responsibility, social responsibility. two directions are quite important. It is not the moral, but also economically. As I told, the iron industry will be matured. So our most important direction is sustainable development goals and environmental society and governance. Without the social responsibility companies, without the companies will not be a social responsibility. People will not invest the money. So the many investing companies considering such factors to invest. It is quite important for our mantra future. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Junzo, for that exhaustive presentation on your life and the way you have grown. I would now, as we have done, I would now begin with some of the questions. We are sorry, participants, we have not been able to connect with this video. We will try once again to see if maybe we can switch on his video. Junzo, can you please try to connect once again and see if we can have your video. Otherwise, we will start with the questions which I had in mind forward. We are still not able to see you, so I will switch off the video so that at least we can so, you do the I see your question, but then just give us 5-10 minutes more. We'll open the house for questions in just another 5-10 minutes. Are you able to hear me, Junzo?
Yeah, I can hear.
Very good.
I can hear. Yeah, no problem.
You have seen life differently, beginning with the World War and the various catastrophes world has seen around. You have traveled, unlike a regular Japanese, you have traveled around the world. What, in your opinion, are the key elements of the essence which outline the essence of life and growth?
Yeah, I think two factors for personal opinion, not
yes.
the academic. One is the people's relation. I obtained many things from the Professor Dr. Amang Agarwal. He likes a joke, right? But also he has a very wide connection, as we can find the talking people are very, very nice. And also next is travel. I like to travel, especially I like to travel in India. And also I like to learn the history, especially the countries have the more than 5,000 history. The India, China, and Egypt, Greek, and like that, long history countries. Of course, I read various Asian history relating, but quite interesting Indian history.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. But Junzo, you have, the way I have seen you grow, the way you deal with things and the kind of respect you have gained across the globe, the way you give respect to your students, to the academic fraternity, it is highly commanding. Now, what in your way is the way you go about celebrating life? Because that's important. If you want to harper the fruits of life, you must learn to also celebrate it. So can you throw some light on how do you go about celebrating life?
Oh, quite difficult. The most happy thing is to share with my family. But now after lockdown in Malaysia, my family went back to Japan. So I'm alone. Yeah, too big. Apartment is too big, but I'm right now alone. So I will be back the end of June. I will be back to Japan end of June. So we may share the celebration with my family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You see, Junzo, you work on fuzzy goal programming, and you know most of the fuzzy goal programming deals with uncertainties and try to project, forecast, calibrate using fuzzy goal programming various problems of uncertainties. Now, when you see these kind of uncertainties in life, in work, in environment, you propose what we should do since you have dedicated your life to fuzzy goal programming? What do you expect the humankind should do to take care of these uncertain periods in one's life?
I think the 2 points.
Yes.
In building a model, data is uncertain. Also, model is uncertain. It is not only fuzziness, but also the stochastic, the probability. We can consider both uncertainty. But anyway, if we find data uncertainty, we should employ such probability or fuzziness. But if we employ fuzzy model, quite convenient to build such an economical model or industrial model. So we may employ both ways, analyzing uncertain data, but also building uncertain model. So if we build a clear-cut model, it is not fit to uncertain situation. So we may employ fuzzy system as well as a probability system. It is depending on the situation problem of uncertainty.
True. You know, Junzo, as you might have heard, we have been talking about the essence of life and growth. So I read this statement somewhere that one must not go through life, one must grow through life. And I saw your brief history where you studied, then you worked in the industry, then you studied again, and then you traveled around, worked at various places. And even now, every year for the last 20 years, I see you travel all around the world, not only addressing for academic forums, but also participating in academic activities and other activities. Now, how does one go through life, not just go through life, but grow through life from your own personal experience?
I think I talked. So 人間万事が細胞がま it is the 細胞wants the host. So sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're unhappy. We should endure such a days without the how can I say, expressing joyous in happy days. Next time, maybe unhappy things will come. But even though our unhappy days, we should prepare something for new. I think this coronavirus days, next maybe our industry will be changed quite drastically. Not only we do not wait till 2050, industry will be changed, but our direction is quite clear. So the industry will not be the same as the past. We should prepare for the fourth wave. Alvin Toffler did not explain the fourth wave of real situation. So we should find such a one, depending on SDGs or ESG. It is quite important direction. UN, United Nations, and each country are emphasizing this direction.
True. You know, I have been, all the participants in the last 20, 25 days that I've had 25 participants who have given a wealth of knowledge to us in the last almost 1.5 months now, have talked about the way positivity and spirituality and consciousness, self-consciousness, has helped, bring about contribution to the essence of life and the way we look at growth. What's your opinion in this?
I think I attended various excellent persons talk. So comparing between Japanese people and the Indian people, also the other countries' people, all people are quite positive, but the Japanese are pessimistic, declining. They stress on the bad aspect more than good aspect. Therefore, Japanese used to save the money for next unhappy days. But the Indian is more positive. They do not emphasize any bad situation.
Okay. The other thing also which I wanted to ask before I open the house to questions, two more last questions. I traveled across Japan. I've been to Osaka, Kyoto. I've been to, in any case, Tokyo, Hitoshibashi, large number of cities. And I found that most Japanese lead a very simple life, a very peaceful life. Mm-hmm. What do you think? And most of the people I know from Japan, some of them are very good friends like you, of all age brackets. I find that they have a holistic picture of life and they like to look at it. What is the success mantra behind this particular way of life?
I think that one important thing, we Japanese used to not to touch other person's things. For example, we left something in a bus. So maybe some person pick up luggage or something. But in Japan, sometimes if we are happy, we can find this luggage left in the bus at the terminal. Bus company keep. Many occasions, for example, in a conference hall, if I left the luggage and going to lunch and coming back, luggage is left on the same place. Mm-hmm. So the how can I say, the morale is higher. I do not compare other people, but anyway, in Japan, of course, in Japan, various bad things happen. Many people are killed or something. It is not so different, but anyway, some people are quite good.
Correct. I agree. Last question from me. As I have read a couple of times about the Rig Veda code, which is one of our scriptures in India, one of the oldest scriptures in India. It says, let noble thoughts come to us from every side, whether it's a child with elderly or whether it's from A country or B country or person from small country or big country, doesn't make a difference. Everyone can have noble thoughts. What would your advice be to the youth and the student, especially at the times of today when we are perplexed with the problem of plenty and the digital influx we have in terms of information, in terms of products, in terms of services? We are all getting into that state of confusion. What would be your advice to the youth and the students? given your long history of work and personal life?
I think considering the trend of industry and individual working circumstance, we cannot remove digitalization. This is quite important. Another most important is big data analysis. So big data analysis provides this different answer we obtained in the past some the limited data and obtained the answer. But big data will provide a very different answer, more high quality answer. It will be connected. For example, the weather forecast. We know how the weather will be changed. 10 minutes future, 1 hour future, next day, very high accuracy comparing with 10 years or 20 years ago. So it is big data analysis. Also the huge the supercomputer can be used. So we should connect with this trend. Without obtaining this trend, it is not possible to survive in industry as well as in academia. So we should catch up such as digitalization. It is quite different from the Fujitsu days. It was also next 20 years, 30 years will be changed.
Now I will be opening up the house for questions, and I have Dr. Mohammad Halim Khan Saab who would like to ask. Dr. Khan has been Secretary Government of India, which any civil servant can get. He has been one of the most apt and the most upright officer throughout his life. And I have a lot of people who have appreciation for him, and I've appreciated his work and structures. I would request Mohammad Halim Khan Saab, and I have enjoyed my discussions with Mohammad Halim Khan Saab like I have enjoyed always my discussions with you, Junzo. So I have Dr. Khan Saab to ask some questions. Please go ahead, Dr. Khan.
Professor Watada, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Listening
Namaskar.
to you, Namaskar. Listening to you was a great opportunity for me for 3 reasons. First, during the course of my life, I have traveled almost most of the countries, but somehow it so happened that whenever I had the occasion to work in Japan, study in Japan, go to Japan, it got aborted at the last minute. So you have filled up a big gap in my learning opportunities. Number 2, you have introduced me to some very good literature. I have been reading a few writers of Japanese literature, and I will be indebted to you for introducing me to this story, which I will like to certainly go through it and appreciate the nuances. And third, which is more interesting, was the talk of fourth wave, and how you have related this fourth wave, because I have been talking and to people interacting in conferences about the circular design sustainability. I have also written an article in which I introduced a word called life cycle pricing of products. So your talk gave me a lot of insights and a few areas for thought. I have also, during the course of your deliberation, came to see that you have lived most of the time in Japan, and at the after retirement you shifted to Malaysia. Now I'm curious to know from you how appreciation of life And I mean, as Aman has formulated the subject, essence of life has been enhanced or changed after you moved from Japan to Malaysia, because apparently the two are also quite a different country culturally, as I know. So I would like to request you to throw some thoughts on this, that when you moved from Japan to Malaysia, how your appreciation of life and sense of life got an additional dimension. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I traveled a lot. I like to travel, but not many countries, maybe more than 30 or 30 something. When I visit one country, many people invited me to visit again. For example, I visited IIT Madras, Professor P.V. Subramaniam. So after then, I visited Chennai many times. Also, I connect various people and visited various places. So almost the same countries I visited: China, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and etc. But quite nice and deeply knowing such a countries. So of course, I'd like to visit other countries. And the Nobel, I think we Japanese people have some, how can I say, name or period, depending on new emperor. Now we assigned Reiwa. I was talked with FM Malaysia when Reiwa started. I explained Reiwa. So before Reiwa naming, Japanese used name coming from Chinese literature. So the Chinese culture is quite important, like European culture, depending on Latin and Greek, like that. Japanese weight Chinese literature. We studied Chinese literature. But this time, Reiwa coming from Japanese literature. So I think one good idea is read Japanese classic, maybe 500, no, 2001, not 107 years ago, this poem was written. Also, Genji story is quite famous. So you may read. Of course, the modern novels are quite a wide range. So I know I have several interesting for me, but it is quite difficult to introduce. But classic is the same for any people. It should be interesting. These are translated in English, modern in English. So you may select some of them. Quite good.
Can I ask one more question, Professor Agrawal?
Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Professor Watada, I was reading some history book on Japan, and I came to know that in good old days there was that the king used to forego his position and handed it over to the next successor voluntarily. Because he thought that after handing over the responsibilities of the king, he can do much better for the society. So, will you think, when this change, or it is, or this cultural past still persists in Japan in some way?
Okay, may I tell the different direction? Did you see frog in well? Did you see? Did you find a frog in a well?
Dr. Khan is asking if you have seen a frog in a well.
Yeah. Tell me.
So in Japan, used to we evolve the how can I say tell like this?
Okay.
Well, no frog in a well. They told we are top, but outside the well there are many good ones. I don't like to read Japanese history written by Japanese.
Okay.
You'd better select Japanese history written by Asian, American, European. It is much better. I used to read such a history. Of course, Japanese, the people's history can be evaluated, but you'd better check, compare with the other written history. Otherwise, like frog in the well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question.
The last curiosity, if you permit, if you have to say what is the single takeaway from your stay in Malaysia,
Okay.
what will you say? Single takeaway from your life in Malaysia.
I like Malaysia, but one thing, it is not told for foreigner, but we foreigner will not tell like this, but if I can tell, the most mistake is Malaysian first policy. It was provided Mahathir. He regulated this. So I think if he did not accept this policy, Malaysia cannot develop the well. But from present place, I think quite difficult to return. They cannot return Malaysian first policy. So it is quite a regrettable policy. I should not tell this one in public broadcasting place.
Thank you,
but
Professor.
I like Malaysia. Yeah.
No, it is a beautiful and very green country. It's just that they're very domesticated and, in my opinion, not so welcoming to foreigners per se, unless you want to make it your own base. But otherwise, it's a beautiful country. I've been there many times, and I've enjoyed my visits to both the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange and the university who have invited me there, especially University of UTP Malaysia and a couple of other universities. I'll now go on to...
Shall we happy to keep in touch with you, Professor?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll now go to Professor Ashok Laha, who is the CEO for Inter-IT for US. And I think he's in the office today, because he sits on a chair, which is very formal attire. So I think he has started resuming work from office. Because he was office based in place, provided there is no case of COVID or Corona. And I think he's one who has taken this bold decision, because the repercussions are very strong. If there is found Corona, then his office can be locked for a good time. So he has taken a big chance and a risk to bring normalcy to life, which large number of MSMEs are trying to do. We will hear about that more from Mr. Ranjit Kapoor, who runs an MSME in India for almost like 50 years now. But I go to Ashok now for his comment and question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Aman. Professor Junzo, konnichiwa. And
Konnichiwa.
Yeah. I used to be
Namaste.
Namaste. I used to be in I used to have a company in Japan. So for 4 or 5 years, I used to go to Japan quite a lot, almost like once a quarter. And I'm fascinated. I was very fascinated by the Japan. I used to have lots of Japanese friends, when I went to grad students in a Northwestern, and they fascinates me. So I think that, and there are a couple of things which your speech is very fascinating. Your presentation is very fascinating. I learned a lot about Japan by listening to you as compared to that 4 years I was, that 4 or 5 years I was in Japan going there for business. I used to be office in Tokyo. Anyhow, so a few questions I got that. You made a point that good people can and must be saved. You also said bad people should be saved also. Now, given the logic, do you have got a capital punishment in Japan, or you abolished it, capital punishment in Japan?
Quite a difficult question. I thought that partly, of course, this is the word very attractive for young people, but we cannot govern the society like a religious concept. Of course, behind the punishment, such the philosophy is important. A little bit different from my opinion, but it is important. For example, in India country does not accept the death sentence. So it is one policy. But like a Philippines, all but the people were killed. It is one way to govern society. So I attract such a society like the Philippines. Of course, the United States the accused such a way, but sometimes it is required. Otherwise, we cannot govern the society. Sorry, it is not answer well. Quite a difficult question.
Capital punishment is almost abolished in most of the countries in Europe, and it was, once upon a time it was abolished in US also. They reintroduced it right now. You know, my second question is that Amon, if you allow me to do that.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
You lived in Purdue. You lived in US for some time. And what's the difference from your point of view between the American culture and Japanese culture?
Quite a different, right? And American is more positive and enjoyous. So the open, comparing with European people. Sometimes the Asian are not open, but Americans are open. Quite easy to contact with them. But in Europe, people do not like to contact first time. After spending time, they open something. So it is Japanese are quite similar to European people. Even though they smile, behind the smile, they do not open the heart. For example, in Kyoto, all people smile, but behind the smile, they do not open their heart. It is looks like a European, but many Americans are foreigners in the United States. Foreign races quite open, accept foreigners. Of course, the bad things are happening in the United States, but quite different between Europe and the United States. Also, the United States and Japanese are different. I'm not sure the only short time I stayed there, only 1 year for as a postdoctoral stay. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Quite a nice place. I visited Chicago so many times.
Yeah, I found the difference. Last question is that from the business point of view, when I go to the business in US, I meet the person, and within a probably week, within 2 or 3 meetings, they can close the business. Either they tell you, no, we don't want to give a business to you, or you close the business. It's much faster to close the business. Japan, I did the business work with the Hitachi and NTT and those people. It takes lots of meetings because they have to trust you. So it takes a long time. Almost it takes 6 months to close a business in Japan. As compared to US, probably I can close the business in 2 or 3 weeks. Anyhow, thanks very much again. Thank you.
Okay. May I comment one thing?
Sure.
Please.
Japan has was quite lucky after World War II. Okinawa was removed by the United States. Also, the Hokkaido was tried by Russian. But it was saved by the force, United States. Russia did not return the 4 islands. Still now, Russia emphasized these islands cannot be returned, but the United States returned Okinawa. It is a historical background, but it was quite happy for Japan when back up by the United States. Otherwise, Japan was separated like Korea and Germany. So that historical movement provided a happy result to Japan. We keep such a historical movement every day. When I read various the aspect, Russia and Germany relation and World War II, the struggle, Japan was quite happy. Of course, Japanese 1970s. United States required to open the market in Japan, quite severe. Of course, we should have negotiate with the United States. Japanese negotiation is not so hard, so we should be stronger than the United States. Otherwise, all things were stolen in business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we can meet you sometimes.
Yeah, we should.
Sure, we'll meet you definitely.
I now connect to Mr. Ranjit Kapoor. There were 2 more people, but then given that we have to start another webinar by Professor Deepak Gora at 2, and we need to leave by 1:45, so I'll stick to Mr. Ranjit Kumar, who is the Managing Director of White Metals, which is an MSME, and he's been an entrepreneur for over 60 years now, 55, 60 years. I've known him for a decade now. I'll request Mr. Ranjit Kapoor to kindly ask his question or make his comment, whatever you like.
Thank you very much, Professor Junzo, for an excellent presentation. What caught my eye was, the remark where you said that Japanese culture is influenced by Chinese. Okay. Now, in what way Japanese culture has been influenced by Chinese? When it comes to business, typically both are poles apart. So I will be very keen to know in what way Chinese have influenced the Japanese culture.
Okay, I think I'm not sure this is the answer to you, but sometimes Japanese believe almost 10 or 20 years ago, we believed hard negotiation is the best negotiation. But in the United States, now they change soft negotiation with a smile. Is also the important in business. So they are going to change negotiation style. So the also we should compare with other negotiation styles. Not only hard negotiation is the good one, but also we can find another negotiation style. So I'm not sure this is the answer or not.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you very much for your good question. Sometimes I think over.
Okay, okay.
Ranjit,
Thank you very much.
so I'll now go to the last question, which is still there because he has been waiting also. Dr. T moved to Pandian. Sorry if I pronounce your ring wrongly. Kindly introduce yourself, sir, from which city, which organization you are, and then please ask your question.
Right, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. T. Muthupandian, working as a professor in PSNA College of Engineering and Technology. Thank you, Professor Amana Agarwal, for connecting me to Zoom.
Thank you, Dr. Pandian.
Yeah, my question is this. Whenever we, earlier, whenever we used to think of electronics, we used to think of Japanese companies. The companies like Sony, Panasonic, Hitachi, they were doing very much well earlier and dominating the entire the world in terms of market share is concerned. And in India also they were dominating earlier, but slowly nowadays the electronic giants like Sony, Panasonic, they are losing their market share, especially in India as far as latest technologies are concerned, like mobile phone, internet technologies, or whatever the new developments in the electronics industries are coming up. They are losing their market share. What's the reason behind, sir? Is it related with their culture or working culture or the value system, or they don't mind in losing their market share to the Japanese, the Chinese companies and South Korean companies? What's the reason behind, sir? Is there any change in their mindset or value system or culture of employees working in Japanese electronics industry?
For Japanese,
yeah,
our impressions are different between Sony and Panasonic. Sony is taken as an American company. Also, they take such a policy. First, they accepted American president. So also they use English in a company. But Panasonic is more Japanese style culture. So maybe a different. So also in India, Sony is another different from American company or European company. But Panasonic is providing more Japanese style management because they emphasize on the employees' life. For example, Panasonic used to accept employees' children. So but I think Sony is more dry. If the children do not have ability, they do not accept. But Panasonic used to accept the children of employees. So the company's culture behind the company are quite different. Also, the marketing and the approach, maybe they are different. I'm not sure future, but in the past, Konosuke Matsushita, the founder, he emphasized touch one. but Sony is started from the New York. They settled the company office in New York, number 5 street in the New York. So they try to mimic American way. So now almost the same as American. So they would like to remove Japanese style. I mean Sony. So I think if some person are interested in management, they can compare between them, not only Panasonic and Sony. There are many representative companies. They can compare Japanese style and American style, even in the in Japan. So they are quite interesting, and how successful or not. Japanese style, I'm not sure Japanese styles are successful or not.
Okay.
I hope that helps you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Junzo, for that elaborate discussion and presentation on your life and your life history. Some parts, in fact, I knew, and some I did not know before. And so it was a good insight for me to actually learn through the whole process. And I feel very proud, and especially when you talked about the Japanese culture, the Japanese old monk style, the science and development. And also I did read about the Nobel laureate, which you mentioned, but then it was good to hear from you again. It's important that we give importance to our gurus, and I'm happy that gurus, people who are teachers to us, and I'm happy that in your presentation you talked about the gurus, people who have taught you, have made whom you are, and it's important in Indian culture that we do that so that we can, move forward, something which has been imbibed in us. So that's where I find, in fact, the Japanese and the Indian culture very close to each other when it comes to conservatism, or when it comes to, not conservatism in terms of shying away, but in terms of approach to life. And then also the fact that the way we respect our elders, our teachers, we have respect and tolerance for each other's point of view. And I think that's what makes our life more enjoyable, more healthy, and brings out that essence of life and growth. Thank you, Junzo, for that elaborate discussion. Yes, go ahead.
Thank
please.
you very much, Professor Dr. Amang Agarwal. It is quite nice the chance to consider my life. Usually, I do not consider my life. So the Namaskaram, I do prepare next presentation 10 or 20 years future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Since from you, not only here, but also when we organize this international conference, which we are holding in September. So we would like you to be one of our editor keynote speakers there. And we are looking for, and even some more on maybe purely on fuzzy goal programming and the fuzzy modeling, which you have done. We will organize another webinar for you in June first week when you have time, or whenever you're back in Japan or through Malaysia. But I will talk to you separately on that. But as a last duty, I must inform everybody and thank everybody to be here and inform them what we have in hold for them for today and tomorrow. Today, immediately at 2 o'clock, we have another webinar, which is free of cost for everybody. I have already got about 87 confirmations through phone and emails, which is on trust, a core human value, by Professor Deepak Vora, Dr. Deepak Vora, who is the ambassador and former diplomat for India. He's currently advisor to a large number of prime ministers in Africa, including Lesotho, Guinea-Bissau, South Sudan, even to Leh-Ladakh Autonomous Council, and various prime ministers of India. He is also an honorary professor at the Indian Institute of Finance, and he is doing his PhD, another PhD on trust, being here now for the last 3-4 years. So we are going to get his inputs on trust as a core value, human value, which I think most of these speakers, including Ashok and others, and even you, talked about as a key component when we look at life and growth. So we're going to have that from 2 to 3 today itself. Same ID, the 9999321585. which is the institute's mobile number as well. Then we have in the afternoon at 4 o'clock a training program on the using Excel for finance. How could you use Excel as a tool in finance for using various applications so that you can make your life easier and you don't need to go spending a lot of money on buying softwares for doing basic financial calculations and doing sensitivity analysis or interlocking web structures, which most of us academically do, or even modelers do. Then we have tomorrow morning a young bright girl. I call her a girl, although she's a mother of daughter and is doing very successful. She has been my student. Junzo, I will come to you in a minute. Who has been a Bharatanatyam dancer, who is currently heading eBay of 4 or 5 countries, North America, South America, Latin America, Australia, Canada, as a regulator and payments compliance manager and for eBay throughout the region. And even she was formerly with Goldman Sachs, AIG, Thomson Reuters, and she was our student in 2003, 2005. She was my student, and I feel proud of the fact that she's been my student. She's also had some instant on the Sri Lankan folk dance. So she has learned that, but she doesn't practice this anymore. And then tomorrow afternoon, we have Professor Saurabh Agarwal giving a session on capital budgeting using Excel. And then on Sunday, we have him speaking on how to make money on stock market. So that announcement is already gone out as well. On Monday, we have Dr. Nidhi Kumar, who is a celebrity herself, an artist, hosts a large number of celebrity shows, an anchor on DD for a long time, trustee of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Trust, and advisor of the Volkov Foundation. She's also going to speak on the essence of life. I've known her for almost 2 decades as well. But as I said, we are having this very enthusiastic and important webinar today from 2 o'clock, which is on trust, a core human value. I would welcome all of you to join. I think you will learn a lot. Professor Voda is a very learned speaker, a very learned man, a man with full of knowledge, as we have been hearing from Junzo, Ashok, and various others. But he gives a different dimension and perspective, and hence we will be hearing him from 2 onwards. We will open the house at another 5 minutes or so after closing from now. But I see Junzo wanted to say something. Junzo, please go ahead. You may kindly say, and then we will close for today.
I just intend to say thank you. See you soon.
Yes. Namaskar and see you soon. We will connect in another 5 minutes to connect for the webinar for human value by Professor Dr. Deepak Voda. Thank you, Junzo, for this elaborate discussion and talk.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.